I can learn from you. I can learn from that channel. I can learn from the mind of Adept HNIC.
Author Ron Rummel was about to publish a book revealing what he believed to be the real purpose of the Star Wars project when his body was found here in McClay Park in Portland, Oregon. His death was ruled suicide, but few agree with that verdict.
As far as the police and the FBI are concerned, it's case closed. Unfortunately, there's the shocking thing that his murderer, I believe his murderer, is still out there at large.
Why is it you're speaking out?
There have been enough lives taken under the premise of suicide when they were actually very stable individuals. They had families and they had lives to look forward to, and they had every reason to live. And if there is some form of conspiracy out there, then the more people that are talking might end up saving lives in the long run.
The great 1954 treaty had been violated. After the great firefight, the alien-human war, I am the only living survivor talking about it worldwide at all. Only one. The other two are in nursing homes in Canada, and the Canadian government refuses to allow any U.S. people, including myself, to talk to them because they are afraid of kidnap. Probably the reason I got shot to pieces and 11 attempts on my life is I am a
I met Phil over the telephone approximately 3 years ago, and in person about 2 years ago. And during that period of time, I became very well acquainted with him. He was, at that time, still working for the government, and he didn't say much about what he did. But nonetheless, over a period of time, I became well acquainted with him. I found him to be a person of integrity and honesty. And about 1 year ago, he became totally fed up with the New World Order and the establishment. He thought he was working for the betterment of mankind and the work that he was doing as a geologist for our government as well as for NATO. And he found out that it could be and was actually anything but that. So his revelations became, in many respects, my revelations. And I urged him last winter and spring to go public and lecture. Finally got him out. He's given over 30 lectures to date, all very successful, very interesting. In fact, so successful there have been 13 attempts on his life since the beginning of the year, and he survived them all. All I can say is God must be protecting him because he has a message. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Phil Schneider, and understand also everything is being recorded and the video and audio tapes will be available later. Please give a warm welcome to Phil Schneider.
Thanks, Al. I guess I can always start off by saying loose lips sink ships. That's almost a pun anymore. I'm Phil Schneider. I worked 17 years for the United States government as a geologist and aerospace engineer as well as a structural engineer. I worked for such elusive occupations with Morrison Knudsen, Bechtel, Page and Page, Aerospatiale of France, and a host of other EG&G and a host of other Los Alamos Laboratory and these kind of things. But rather than bore you with all those statistics, I've got cooked up a real mixed bag here of different topics, and it's might be a little bit like brain overload, but I'll start from the beginning. Now, like I said, I worked 17 years, co-invented methods of shape charge blasting as well as laser rock deflagration, which means rock is literally melted or powdered by a special laser combination, and the residue of the rock underneath is applied as a coating, as a liquid coating, kind of like instant agate, if you could imagine a hunk of agate, which is a hard silica mineral, rock actually. But up here we have another topic. This is an area to where I worked. I worked 11 years of the 17 years at Groom Lake, S4, S2. It's in the Nellis Air Force Base area. In fact, Groom Lake is, I'll show you in the picture right here. It's right here. Groom Lake is quite the place. A lot of rumors and other kinds of things have come out of there. Of course, people have stood on the outside for years and wondered at what's been flying there. There's all kinds of things been flying. Let me give you a brief overview. Start in ancient history land here. Back in 1909, the U.S. cavalry was engaged in catching some banditos that had crossed over the Mexican border into a place called Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. And they went into a cave or a hideout and killed the so-called bandits, but what they found out they couldn't explain, and they were called horseshoe craft at that time, or horseshoe ships. There were UFOs, and they saw these, what they called demons, gray demons, little gray guys all around the place. That was in 1909. Now in 1933, our government was actively engaged with the Europeans, mostly the French and the English, in special researches dealing with aerial phenomenon. And once again, the term flying saucer or flying disc didn't come about until much later, supposedly right around the mid-1940s. Anyway, the whole thing here is that also in 1946, I might want to add, we were engaged in atomic bomb testing and this kind of alike, and of course the area of Bikini Atoll. Some of the pictures are over here on the white board. Are showing with the actual language of both the U.S. Army and U.S. Navy archives. Anyway, these flying ships were seen as early as 1945, 46. Some of them were called Foo Fighters, and you name it. They were fully known about maybe as early as 1935 or 36 by our U.S. Navy. And there was a shallow underwater base at Bikini Island, and that was probably the one reason why a number of atomic bombs were exploded in that area rather than other areas which they could have been even more remote out in the South Pacific at Operation Crossroads. Well, anyway, this all led up to later on, about 6-8 years later, 1954, during the Eisenhower administration, led to an interesting treaty called the Greada 1954 Treaty. It was the Alien-Human Treaty. And supposedly the aliens had come in and exchanged technology, and they'd want to take an occasional human being and a few head of cows, and accurate books were supposedly to be kept, and all this kind of stuff. And of course, eventually all that broke down, and aliens are notorious for being liars, even greater liars than so-called, in quote, we humans are. So alien treaties are often just not even the pieces of paper they're written on. They're just really kind of worthless. Anyway, my work as a geologist in building underground military bases, some of which are over 2 miles underground. And I think when you listen to Al tonight, if you have a chance to listen to him, he will speak of, Al's actually been on some of the high-speed monorail subway cars, if you might want to call them, that link these bases together. Some of them are capable of riding on a cushion of air about 3/4 of an inch off a rail at a better part of Mach 2. And he's actually been on one of these trains. I've only been in one of the tunnels and helped build some of the tunnels. Incidentally, I helped work on 13 deep underground military bases. Had hands-on experience. Notorious was the one in and around the Dulce, the southeastern and southwestern sides of Dulce, New Mexico, in the Los Alamos laboratory regions, where we built some hermetically sealed rooms that were very deep, going down over a mile. We also built additions onto Groom Lake and S2 and S4 complexes. There are a total of 9 underground. They're called DUMBs. Like, you can learn a lot from this dummy, but DUMB stands for Deep Underground Military Base. And or a deep underground, DUM-2, for instance, is a submarine base, and I have built a few of those too, which are off our continental shelves and then certain islands and out in the Atlantic and the Pacific in strategic locations. All this, I can hardly, in an hour's time, I can hardly squeeze all this in. So I'll be kind of rambling here if you just bear with me. The main topic of my discussion here is to link up basically what's going on with these deep underground military bases, what they're being used for, what is the present situation now being employed both by our federal government, which is slowly being phased out by the United Nations government, as well as the New World, end quote, the New World Order, which is an even higher entity, and who these higher entities are taking their orders from, and try and link up basically what's going on. A lot of us have been kept in the dark. We've been given, maybe most recently over here, photographs of an alien at Roswell. I'll just make a very brief statement about that. The photographs cannot stand up to a computer grain analysis test and therefore are retouched or faked. They're not real. The real one, the real photograph of the charred or dead alien that was, or one of the several that were autopsied, is over here, was given to me by a friend by the name of Skip Fromback of Seattle. And his father worked as one of the principal doctors. He was from Germany at the time, and worked on some of the autopsy material, from what I understand, along with other people. Anyway, you just can't believe everything, and that goes for me. You got to get out there and do your homework. Like I always say, you might, don't put your spectacles on, you put your skepticals on when you listen to me. So if we can have a show of hands here, how many people have heard about Roswell, New Mexico? Very good, almost all. And how many people have heard about the black helicopters and the other kinds of flying saucers type equipments out at Groom Lake and other places? Very good. Well, this obviously is a nice enlightened audience. Most of you have probably seen what a black helicopter is, or maybe even gotten rare glimpses of an F-117A black jet, or stealth as they're often called, or a B-2 bomber, or B-1 bomber, or some of these other sophisticated aircraft that are now being touted as the new technology. Once again, where did we get this new technology? Well, obviously we've had a little hand in that. Our little alien so-called buddies, have kind of exchanged things, not without a great cost. The cost of which has been a lot of people have disappeared. Some, and I'll blow this statistic by you, there's, according to current FBI and Defense Intelligence Agency and CIA statistics, 100,000 children and 1 million adults disappear every year, and these are not kidnappings or murders or rapes or suicides or anything, totally unaccounted for. And where are these people going to? Nobody knows. Maybe one of us in this room or somebody has encountered such an individual and lost a loved one or a friend or something, and that's unfortunate. My best friend, Ron Lee Rummel, several years ago got himself murdered because we dared to put out in print, at that time I was still working for the government, and so was he, we dared to put in print the so-called the Strategic Defense Initiative, or Star Wars, as part of the New World Order and takes its actions. It was originally written as a kind of a spoof or a joke. We had one of these alien greys dressed up and had New World Order insignia on, and of course that wasn't taken very nicely, and my friend got himself murdered. It was called a suicide, but now it's been turned over to special authorities who now acknowledge it was a homicide. Other than that, I'd like to also mention something about my father. My father was a U-boat captain in Hitler's Navy, and he got captured and taken over. I didn't find this out until about 2 weeks before he died. On his deathbed, he kind of told everybody in total shock. I was one of them. In fact, I didn't believe him. I thought he was kind of in delirium or something like that. And of course, other things have come up since. And so, anyway, he was captured by the French, turned over to the Third Army, U.S. Third Army, and then U.S. Third Army turned him over to the Navy. And he was a master machinist. Now, that's not a journeyman. A master means they can take a block of metal and make a gun or a watch or some other fine instrument. And he was a master machinist. He later became an MD doctor and part of the aerospace medicine group of the United States Navy. Was instrumental in helping build the USS Nautilus and its first nuclear-powered predecessor, the Enterprise, the first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, and other ships like it. He pioneered all the ways in building very small and miniature nuclear engines, and he even helped work later on in his life. He helped develop the infamous grid bed nuclear motor, which is now employed in some things that look like flying saucers that people claim are flying saucers. Yes, we, in quote, the United States Air Force and other armed forces, are training other European forces to fly unidentified, or now identified, or, in quote, flying saucers. We've actually built several prototypes that are flying under names of black craft. My position as a geologist and engineer got me to see a lot of things in the world. I've been in over 70 countries. Also worked for NATO. I carried a level 3 security clearance with a rhyolite factor. Rhyolite is a hardened factor, only given out to a handful of civilians and maybe a couple of hundred military men worldwide. I thought I was doing the nation, United States, as well as the world a favor by, I thought I was kind of keeping my end up. Well, it didn't work out that way. I was to later find out that these underground bases are now being employed as strategic bases for, in case there is martial law in this country. Right now, our military professors that used to be in war colleges and the like are training people like ex-Russian KGB and Spetsnaz people right here on American soil. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes, along with other people, other geologists. By the way, I'm still a geologist, still do geological survey work. However, I don't work for the government anymore. I took my security clearance and all my government stuff and cut it up and sent it back to the, pardon my French, SOBs. When I found out that a number of these 131 deep underground military bases are being used to subvert the Constitution of these United States and its people, I says, that is enough. I can't possibly be connected. Oh, well, Mr. Schneider, you can't quit, they said. Well, I says, yes, I can. I'm an individual, I'm going to quit, and I'm walking off the job. And he says, so I got arrested and casually told, well, you got to finish a job. And so I caved into that part, and I finished 3 weeks, and then at that time my father was dying, and I was allowed home, and I never went back for my paychecks. Don't intend to either. These people are beginning to show signs of being our utmost enemy. I'm talking about military people now engaged in training foreign troops on American soil, clearly against the Bill of Rights and the U.S. Constitution. It's why we formed a government, why our forefathers formed a government, a republic of these United States in the first place, way back 200 plus years ago. Because the drawing and quartering of soldiers, taxation without representation, law by edict, otherwise known as today's version, executive order, among other things. The very reasons that we became, in quote, free, a free republic, a free society, possibly one of the greatest nations to ever be a nation on this earth, were instilled in our founding fathers that are now so far away from the people now running our federal government structure. So I'm here today to touch upon a number of subjects. One being that these underground bases are roughly over 3 of them per state. There's now, instead of 12 prison camps, there's 39. That's almost 1 per state. They're building 2 prison camps every 7 months. They're building 2 underground military bases every year. Each one of these military bases, by the way, these underground military bases, they cost somewhere between $17 and $26 billion. They employ 1,800 to 10,000 workers each in varying grades of skill. They gobble up totally through the black budget, over 1/4 of the black budget, or roughly $310 billion. Of course, you may say, where are these figures coming from? Well, the black budget, as we know it, in quote, black projects, which anything called black is significant of hidden hidden from Congress, hidden from the American people, and very few people are even in the know about it at all. But black budget per year garners over $500 billion a year. And it's these kind of huge quantities and sums of monies are garnered through CIA drug activity, National Security Agency clandestine operations, mostly in Panama and South America. Now also engaged in Russia in bringing and refining strategic metals. By the way, you might want to ask, where's all these kind of interesting new metals coming from? Over here on the whiteboard, we have the new periodic table. It's got 140 elements. Now, in our high schools of today, I was in a high school about a week ago. I saw a new periodic table had 105 elements on it. Now, somewhere, we're not being told the truth. We're being lied to at every turn and every corner. We're considered less than morons. So the government has made itself an entity, an independent taxing body, an entity into itself, and isn't accountable to anybody, not even the so-called New World Order. They just go ahead and do everything willy-nilly as they please. There's nobody checking. You don't have to worry about this. Occasionally there's a senator who pokes a nose in here and there, and that senator finds out either nicely or not so nicely that you don't do things like that. Now, if we're to gain a grip on our country, if we're to take our country back, we must first ask our public officials if they cannot tell us the truth, and we will impeach them, or they will be impeached, or they'll be tried as traitors. This is pretty stiff language. Already it's slowly beginning to trickle out and to occur to a number of people that this may be the only way out. Also, our founding fathers, George Washington, Patrick Henry, and a few of the other ones, came up and said that you don't want to let the beast out of the box. And they were talking about a runaway government. You don't want to allow your government to become like England at that time. And so they warned us about this very same kind of thing. First of all, the United States is not a democracy. It's not a republic anymore. It should be a republic. That's to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. Why we can't even pray in the public schools anymore. We have to have a Supreme Court judge or group of them, plus Janet Reno and company, among other things, telling us what to do. Interpret for us as if we cannot read with our own two eyes and understand with our mind. This, of course, is bad policy all the way around. And I guess I don't need to blow that by your ears. Okay, on another subject, I have a number of items up here at the table. One of which here is, if I can show it, is a heavy hunk of rock indeed. It has a weight of about a little bit more than a pound, 2.5 times the weight of uranium. It's not radioactive, can never be made radioactive. It's composed of earth, rare earth, clays, and powdered metals, as well as an alien element, mostly from crashed, retrieved flying saucers and those of the kind that have happenstance to crash in our deserts and backyards, so to speak. It's called mironite. This is employed in every stealth aircraft, every black jet, throughout the black budget. Also in the very small quantities in the skins of black helicopters, mironite. Here's another thing. Here's a piece of probably the purest titanium you'll ever hear or see. It's so pure, it's also composed with other alien elements to make it extremely tough. It's capable of withstanding temperatures in excess of 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Our new Phoenix-class submarines, of which we're building 2 a month right now. Phoenix-class submarines is a black budget program. Each one of those submarines costing $208 million just for the titanium hull, which is made of this material. Approximately 10,000 pounds of it. Now, we've got, supposedly, as of the data right now, we've got 106 of these submarines. They're plying the waters and the waves. They can dive to a depth of over 7,000 feet and hold that for 3 months. It's a fantastic submarine indeed. It has 11 grid-bed nuclear motors on it, engines that run everything, purify the air. By the way, these aren't your usual nuclear motor installation. They're very small. They're probably no bigger than this podium, weighing less than 3,000 pounds, putting out as much as the equivalent of 3 aircraft carriers of the Enterprise class. But these Phoenix-class submarines are getting this metal. Now, where are we getting the metal? It's being stockpiled in a number of strategic locations. Supposedly, I've heard stories, well, it's being mined on the moon, and I have no way of proving that, one way or another. I think we're probably getting it from Russia, or refining it in outer space. What are we shuttling? Basically, a shuttle, a secret shuttle flight. 1 a week now is going up and back. What are they shuttling? Well, obviously, they've got kind of their own little laboratories up there, space station, and all this kind of stuff. Remember, what you're being told is only just a smattering of the truth. It's not the real truth. Maybe it's 5% of the truth. Maybe it's not even that. You can rest assured you're not getting much. Another strategic metal is this particular bar with some strange crystals on it, the scalenohedral crystals of niobium, titanium, rhenium, copper oxide. This complex group of elements, not found on the Earth in specific quantities. This was developed at Los Alamos through EG&G and other outfits, are employed in all black jet aircraft, all of them, including the, in quote, sport model, the little flying saucer we occasionally see over at Groom Lake. And by the way now, if we happen to be with a video camera, taking pictures of the so-called area around Groom Lake, it's now, you can get your equipment confiscated, your car, your house. You're considered the same thing as a drug dealer, and you'll go to jail for 5 years, up to 5 years, and $1 million fine. I personally don't think this is what I'm hearing. I just don't think that this kind of punitiveness is what we need in America, and we have to get rid of it. Otherwise, we're going to die with no America. Here's some other elements. Here's a very light element. It's composed of lithium metal, as well as a alien element, a little heavier than hydrogen, but a little lighter than helium, also employed in this. It's used in secretive methods of propulsion, and it also is in a peculiar scalenohedral crystalline form. And anything scalenohedral, and by the way, a scalene triangle is no side is equal to another side. The scalenohedral metallic crystalline structure is definitely alien element, or alien technology converted over to our own technology. These were given to me about a year ago. They're called alien or aurora drops. It's supposedly the skins of the black jets, some of the ones that are coming in at very high rates of speed. They're still glowing red hot to white hot, and they'll sit out there and cool off, and they're dripping their material off of them. And it's kind of like a rubberized coating. It's not rubber, I can tell you that. This is hard as lava rock or harder, capable of withstanding tremendous temperatures, but nonetheless some of it sloughs off every time, and so they just kind of scoop it up and throw it in the trash can. There are a few pieces of it. Here's one of the hardest so-called man-made rocks. Once again, it's got a number of alien it's got an alien crystalline structure to it, very advanced. It's about 11 times harder than a diamond, about 70 times stronger than a diamond, capable of standing temperatures in excess of 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It is employed as very thin coatings or windows, tiny windows, in hypersonic aircraft that exceed Mach 5. Here's an interesting artifact. Right here in this hunk of rock, which by the way was an old 100,000-year-old chipping tool found in Jordan rather, excuse me, is a imprint of, it looks like a fossil, but it's not. It's an imprint of a small mechanical part with exactly 360 kind of little rotor blades. Well, this rock is 220 million years old. Who was making machines 220 million years ago? Maybe von Däniken was right after all, huh? Here we have an actual piece of agatized fruit, or it's similar to a lime. It's even been pecked by a bird at one time, and that's still there. So it was instantly turned to agate. It is the same agate or chemical structure as material found at Hiroshima and Nagasaki after the A bombings in World War II, where grasses and flowers and petals of flowers and other kinds of things were instantly petrified, turned to agate. It is the same identical crystalline structure. However, this particular piece is about 20 million years old, and it's still got its original green coating, and it's basically unchanged, perfect condition. Likewise, here's a garlic plant about somewhere between 20 and 35 million years of age, and once again it's got that same pink agate coating. And here are some pieces of the metal skin from the crash disk at Roswell. It was given to me when I was 14 years old. My father was visiting one of his old friends in the Navy archives, as well as he was in the Royal Navy in England. And I, as a 14-year-old boy, I says, "Gee, Dad, can I ask Johnny something?" "Oh, go ahead, ask him. Get anything you can from him," you know, that kind of thing. I says, "Well, gee, Johnny, well, do you think I can have a piece of this metal?" "Oh, no, you can't have that." And I says, "Oh, give it to the kid. What the heck? He won't have it very long anyway." Well, I've had it all this time. It's kind of a unique thing. They were able to break the skin of that craft, by the way, by dropping it into a bath of liquid nitrogen, hitting it with a mechanical or hydraulic hammer, and it shattered into little bits. And it was later analyzed and adapted for our own technology. All these artifacts are fine, but once again, the main part of this talk is, where's it all leading to? We get very little spin-off to where any of this is leading to. Occasionally we'll get a new computer, or maybe a quartz watch, or some little trinket kind of like giving the Indians beads a couple of hundred years ago. Well, we're getting these little spin-offs. But the black budget still rolls on, garnering up over $1 trillion every 2 years. It's somewhere between 1.023 trillion and 1.31 trillion dollars every 2 years. And every year it goes by and the black budget is unchecked, unaccounted for, it's just subverting our country. That's number one. Number two is that these underground military, first of all, if there was something like a nuclear war or there was a definite enemy out there where we were going to be under attack, like from China or someplace like that, I could see maybe a couple of dozen underground bases for a government, and so it could theoretically rise up like the phoenix out of the ashes. Well, not 131 of these, and if you were going to so-called round people up and put them in prison camps, what a better prison camp than underground, where nobody knows where it is anyway. So once again, these underground bases are most likely been planned as underground prison camps and slave labor factories for the New World Order. New World Order, by the way, is getting, and I'm probably the only person ever talking about this, the New World Order is taking, and the United Nations is taking its orders from, believe it or not, these more powerful outer space alien entities. We might call them the large grays or the small grays. Sinister forces indeed. And you might want to say, well, gee, how come we don't see more of this kind of thing? Well, you can just imagine. If you're only being told 5% or less of the truth, that isn't very much to go on. That's one thing. Another thing is you don't find very many people coming up here and letting you have hands-on experience. I'm going to try and do this to you. However, I do ask you to go out and do your homework and keep doing it. Don't necessarily believe in what I'm saying, but get out there and talk to people. Whether it's just a couple neighbors or friends or something, get out there and talk. Because one will tell two and two will tell four, and then pretty soon you have a whole room full of people that are in the know. And then from there, wonders can work. Other than that, as far as changing the black budget, these clandestine programs, public opinion is only going to be that, going to do that, and it's going to take millions of us. But we have to be informed. And to do that, we have to be doing what we're doing now, gathering and talking. And, of course, most of us are adults and can weed out fact from fiction. Most of us are responsible adults and know the difference between fact and fiction and how to use it or how to abuse it. And so we, therefore, have to continue to keep studying and keep talking. If there's just me out there, and believe it or not, there aren't very many people like myself out there talking. I've given over 30 talks in the United States, Canada, Japan, went over to England, went to Japan kind of illegal, came back the same weekend. They flew me in and out, but gave a talk to a number of their execs, and they were very interested indeed. Now, if this was all a bunch of poppycock and hooey and poo-poo, I wouldn't be listened to, be given an audience by these people, but evidently I have. But 13 attempts on my life since the first of this year. There's a number of you ladies present, so I won't gore you out, but Al has seen some of the wounds, and there's a few other people that have been to a few of my other lectures, and they can attest that I have been shot. I've been run off the road. I've been pushed off the road. I've been mostly shot at and that kind of thing like that. But been in hand-to-hand combat with some of these people, and once again, I'm not in the best of shape anymore, but I still know how to handle myself. And I'm just about ready to wrap things up here, but just basically wanted to give you an overview of what's happening. And if we have any questions, we can start asking a few questions. Okay, here's a gentleman way over here. Would you please speak up loud? Yes, I was involved in in 1979, in August, late August of 1979. I was involved working through Los Alamos Laboratories at Dulce, New Mexico, and what's now known as the Alien-Human War. 66 Secret Service agents, government workers, geologists, and the like. I almost bit the dust. I could have been number 67. Lost their lives that day because the government lied and knew full well what was underneath. And what we'd done is, out in the desert there, we had drilled in a period of a couple of days, we drilled 4 of these holes that went down several thousand feet. And one of these holes kept bringing up dirty dust and putrefying odors and broken off machine bits and other kinds of things like that. Boring machines as well as lasers came up damaged. And of course, there was a probe that was sent down, and that came up totally missing. And so people were sent down there, and I was one of the people. And when I got down there, of course, the odor was, and remember, I was in a spacesuit type environment. All I had was a small tool belt with special sensors, a small rock hammer, and a rucksack for mineral specimens and other kinds of things like that. And I had my little pistol. And being an engineer, didn't have time to carry a big hunk of pistol like most of these Green Berets carry, stuff like that, black berets. I carried a little Walther PPK with a 9-shot clip. As soon as I got down this hole, standing about from me to this gentleman over here in the front row, about 10 or so feet away, 7 feet away, something like that, was one of these 7-foot-tall stinking alien guys. And I didn't waste any time. I said, I'm not fiddling with you guys, and boom, away you go. And I was one of the rare few that had been allured that this may or may not occur, so basically was given ET training. But a lot of these other people weren't, and we were. In fact, it was asked, "Are there aliens in the area?" And of course, the big question was no, and that was a big lie. And of course, 66 people died that day. I have a big hole in my chest. I lost my lung was literally burnt out of me. My fingers burnt off of me. My toenails burnt off of me. My skin was, I was in radiation isolation therapy for 400 plus days. My bones were vitrified or burnt. I was cooked. I managed to survive. Here, telling you something about it today. But other than that, I'm the only talking survivor. There are only 2 other survivors, and they're in nursing homes up in Canada. And Canada refuses to allow the United States officials to talk to them, and they're in very bad shape indeed. One of them can't talk, and the other one doesn't want to. So they're regarded as Canadian heroes, and so they're being kept by Canada. Okay, this fellow over here. Speak up loud.
Okay, are there any bases
Actually, yes, there's several. In fact, as I was coming to this talk, I was supposed to be here by plane, but there was a subsequent foul-up. Anyway, I drove all the way and did it in one day. But as I was coming over up near Cheyenne, there I noticed the military, Air Force and the Army are building a so-called new, in quote, boot camp, prison camp, right up in Cheyenne, brand new. And I was here 3 months ago, that wasn't there. So it's something brand new. In Colorado, yes, there's about 4 underground bases, one being at Denver International Air Base. I call it Air Base, spaceport, or whatever you want to call it. Denver International Airport. No wonder your luggage gets lost. There are 8 levels underneath the airport, tarmac there, end quote tarmac or cement mac. And so those bags could be there for a damn long time. Why, just imagine if this was instantly turned to agate 30 or more million years ago, those bags could very well be the same way. So yeah, there's a number of them. And I wish I had a map with me. In fact, in subsequent talks, I'll have a map, which will be put on the overhead. In fact, my next talk, I plan to have just that. I had planned to bring a map here and had all the latitudes and longitudes of all the bases, and I can't do that. That would be a nice jail sentence for me, so I didn't bring it. So, but other than that, I'll have that all researched for you. Yes, this woman. Yes, as far as there being an inner Earth, a hollow Earth or anything like this, no, I've never run into anything like that. However, Al Bielek has been on these tunnel trains at the better part of Mach 2, going from coast to coast in an hour and a half, faster than any jet plane that we got, including the SST, or thereabouts, the same rapid speed. But I helped build a lot of these tunnels, and all of the underground mountain or military bases are connected, all of them, all 131 of them. They're connected both by road, not a big freeway under there, but that's at least a 2 to a 4 lane road, rather narrow lanes, but they're there, and they're also high-speed magneto-leviton train tunnels. Yes, this lady over here. Stand up and speak up, please. What levels of military personnel know about this? Most of the levels of military know about this, especially the higher levels, higher officer levels. The enlisted, I'm sure, don't, or is basically kept in the dark like we are, end quote, we are. So, yeah. This fellow right here with the hat on.
Where are most of these bases located at?
Well, there's 131 of them in the United States, 127 of them in the lower 48. There's some in Canada, I'm not counting those. And some in northern Mexico, I'm not counting those either. They average about 4.25 cubic miles hollowed out underground, an average depth of 5,700 feet underground. Average cost $17 to $31 billion each. They employ anywhere from 1,800 to 10,000 people. And some very large ones now being built in Sweden, one of which is repudiated to be 30 cubic miles. It will take 5 years to build that one at a cost of about $2 trillion. And that's all being supplied by the United Nations. Yes. Anybody over here? No. This gentleman. Speak up, please. Okay, you want to know exact locations of all these? Well, for where all of your Army, Marine Corps, Navy, and Air Force bases are, they're with all this present, not the ones closed down. And by the way, the closed down bases are now being used for gasoline storage and equipment storage and these kind of things. So they're not really closed down yet. Boot camps, end quote, boot camps and all this kind of stuff. So-called prisoner camps and these kind of things. Right now, our police, for instance, are being trained by the Air Force and the Army intelligence in martial law research, as they call it. How dare they call that by that name? So where these are, they're where every one of these strategic bases are now. In Colorado, in around Denver, there's 3 of them, and they're fairly small. Some of these bases are only maybe 2,000 to 3,000 feet in depth. Some of them were built a long time ago, back 35, 40 years ago, and they're only maybe 500 feet, and they're mostly for equipment storage. Denver, and then there's Fort Collins. There's also Colorado Springs area has a number of them. By the way, Colorado Springs is kind of a famous area. Nikola Tesla's laboratories were in Colorado Springs, and need I say more? I'll leave that up to Al Bielek. As far as Nellis Air Force Base, there's 9 underground mountain bases in Nellis Air Force Base. That's in Nevada. It's north of Las Vegas. There's going to be a UFO show and conference in Mesquite here later on this month, and that's up very close to, in quote, Area 51. That whole area, by the way, the state of Nevada is 81% in quote, managed or owned by the federal government. The land is either restricted or run by the federal government. That's why there's groups rising as we speak, dealing with the problem very vociferously, and senators are now getting involved. So evidently waking up is occurring. Yes, this gentleman over here. Speak up, please. Okay. Yes, they are. The gentleman asked, are these tunnels connected to large caverns? Yes, these large bases are basically like this Coliseum. Everything's underground. Everything's a city underground. Most of these bases both have military bases, and they have all the accoutrements of life. Remember, each one of these costs quite a bundle of dough, and some of it in our tax money, but most of it in clandestine approaches, and that's definitely undermining the country. Yes. Well, some of them have a difficulty in understanding our language. It's too slow to them. If you've heard whale songs or bird chirpings at high speed, it's about what these aliens sound like audibly to us, so it's a bunch of gibberish. Yes, they've slowly actually broken down. There's 11 prototypes or 11 civilizations of aliens visiting this planet all the time, all of which are known by the U.S. military, 9 of which are not very good indeed. They're pretty bad news. 2 of which are benevolent, but the benevolent ones have supposedly left. They have their own little war of sorts, especially the Pleiadian groups and whatnot like that, of which Val Thor was repudiated to be a Venusian, but other people will alert he looks more like a Pleiadian. He looks normal human, except he's got 6 fingers and toes. He's got one oversized lung. He's got 2 hearts. He's got all kinds of weird stuff. Bones are bigger. Yep. The man asked, do I tie in the alien agenda to the New World Order? Yes, sir, 100%. I can elaborate briefly. The New World Order right now basically is dismantling countries, governments, telling governments not to war with each other anymore, basically, so that looks good on the outside. They're taking their orders directly from the aliens who've got their own timetable. They want the one world order because they want the planet for themselves. Of course, you've often heard of the term Global 2000, and that's a supposed sinister plot, or has been a group of sinister plots to produce biological weaponry to reduce or thin out the so-called ethnic cleanse the population of the planet by 5/6, or roughly 5 of 6 billion people. enslaving the rest to work willy-nilly with the so-called people of the New World Order. Now, another peculiar thing is the alien agenda is not really well believed nor understood by a lot of these one-worlders. They don't believe it. They think they've been singled out for their own end of glory, and what they don't know is they're just another human being, and according to the negative or bad aliens, they're just another, we're considered bags of food to them. They don't eat us like we think of a cannibal eating a hunk of meat, but they use our glandular secretions as part of their food base, their blood and our glandular secretions like adrenal chrome and other kinds of things like this. And in fact, the Atlanta Center for Disease Control has figured out ways that we can combat this and all this kind of thing like that. It might be where these new designer diseases like AIDS and Ebola and hantavirus and all these kinds of things have come up out of nowhere, and these diseases, end quote, almost have a mind of their own. Yes, this lady here. Okay, lady asked, is the tunnel building having an effect with earthquakes? Yes, it could very easily be, although got to remember a lot of these underground bases are constantly being repaired, and so a lot of people have to be hired. As far as the U.S. government, second part of her question was, is the U.S. government modifying our weather? Yes, that's an affirmative. And we have, the U.S. government's been working with the Russians for at least since 1972 and maybe as early as 1966 on weather modification. And it's a well-known fact, and it's well employed. And by the way, they can literally weather modify a hurricane or a tornado out of existence. And the reason they don't do it is pretty obvious. And right, or they could actually send a plane inside of a hurricane, for instance, that would blow off an atmospheric bomb or a shockwave bomb in the eye of the thing. It would completely dissipate. Well, they don't do this, of course, and there's probably other reasons for that. See which way it goes, or what kind of havoc, and how we can study the havoc, and we go from there. This fellow way in the back in the black. How do we learn more about our general topic? Well, there's this particular fellow, his name is Richard Souter, PhD. He wrote a book recently, Underground Bases and Tunnels, What is the Government Trying to Hide? That is one book. Then we have here's a popular science article, Secret Air Base. The government doesn't want you to know that Groom Lake, supposedly Groom Lake doesn't exist. Well, I guess if it doesn't exist, then me talking about it, I guess I can't be arrested or anything. I'm just full of poppycock here. Well, the editor, one of the editors of Popular Science that put this article out is now in federal prison. Then there's a book that called Stealth Fighter Pilot. These books are available. I got this one at Dalton's. This one actually was sent to me by the publisher. I did some test piloting, and the only thing I test piloted was would run the aircraft back and forth on the runway, the special runways we built at Groom Lake. There's a picture of me in uniform. And I can go on. And these publications are out now, and they're available. Yes, this lady over here. I can't hear you. What? Okay. Okay, that's kind of a mixed bag question there. She asks, with martial law being called, will precious metals and all these kinds of things. First of all, hoarding anything will be outlawed. If you hoard food, have a radio, any way of communicating, stashed gasoline, these kind of things, you would just be rounded up and that'll be the end of you. Martial law is martial law. Martial law is dictatorship of the worst form, or one of the worst forms. And her other part of the question, if I got it right, was when's the alien takeover? Well, the alien takeover right now is, and probably will be for probably the next 20, maybe 30, 40 years, will be basically in the background. The idea is to get the one world beast-like government order in place, and to thin out the population of the planet. And then, of course, then all heck will break loose from then on. And whether it is, I don't often mix Bible and talk, but some people have alerted, well, this is already mentioned in the Bible, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. Well, that may be, but all I can tell you is I've been face to face with one of these sinister characters, or a couple of them, saying the least, and most people would, just the shock of them seeing such a thing would cause them to not be in very healthy mode, frame of mind, as physical as well as mental. This man here in the blue coat. Well, it's a combination. What technology is used to build these underground bases? Well, we have lasers that can drill out, or basically deflagrate or melt out a tunnel 7 miles a day. And that tunnel is 28 feet wide, 28 feet high. You've been told about drilling and boring machines in a very slow, 1/4 mile a day. Most of that went out in World War II. Most of that's all World War I or World War II era materials. And once again, you've been badly lied to. I can hardly believe, first of all, I've worked on public engineering projects, and we do better in grinding up road beds and laying them down at the rate of 4 miles a day, and supposedly that doesn't exist. Well, I worked on one in the state of Oregon just a few months ago, and we built a tunnel for sewage tunnel and whatnot like that. It wasn't very big. It was about 6 feet across, and I drilled right through solid rock, right to base of under one of the hills in Portland for their new light rail. Did that in 2 days. But it was a small, complex tunnel. It was big enough for a man to crawl through and inspect. I was one of the people that inspected, so yeah. What technology? A lot of this is alien technology, readapted for our own use, but a lot of it's our own ingenuity too. So you can bet, how can you tell alien technology? Well, anything that's just absolutely outlandish, like taking a oxyacetylene welding torch and trying to cut into this metal and getting nowhere, obviously would be metals research, aircraft research and the like, and different tools and products, which things that are many times the hardness of diamond, or known hardened substances like boron. Obviously, that's nothing that we came up with on our own. What we could have over a several hundred-year period. But you've got to remember, too, that the military technology is outstripping the public sector technology at the rate of 44 to 45 years of technology for every calendar year, every 12-month calendar year here. So every year going by this time in 1996, the military technology will be roughly 45 years more advanced than where we are today. So it's quite possible that way back in 1943, the U.S. Navy not only caused the ship to disappear, it literally disappeared and reappeared. Basically, military technology right now is about 1,200 years more advanced than public state technology. And computer technology right now, it's off the scale, I can't tell you. It's just right now, and employing just in black jet and stealth aircraft. The new computers are so completely advanced that we couldn't get them in the public sector for maybe another 40 or 50 years. Yes, this lady here. Well, the lady asked with the slave labor camps, the old, the infirm, the handicapped, are they going to be executed, and will there be executions? You can bet your bottom dollar there actually will be these things. I wish I knew more, but I don't. I've had my own agenda to kind of keep up and talk about. But other than that, yes, I would imagine so. If you look at all the 39 prison camps that are presently built, and they're called boot camps, by the way. And of course, these new trains that they have that have 143 shackle placements per train, they're a scary thing indeed. You know what they're called? They're called United Nations Prisoner Transfer Cars. Oh, that's an appropriate name, I guess. Well, we got to wrap it up here. They're telling me it's time. I'll take one more question. This lady over here. Don't brainwash. They don't brainwash you. How do they brainwash 18,000 people that are working? Well, you sign this little piece of paper saying you work, you go to prison for the rest of your days. Or you're not going to be taking home a paycheck of about anywhere from $4,000 to $40,000 per month, depending upon your position. $40,000 a month is a lot of petunias. Okay, well, I got to wrap it up here, folks. So I'll be over in Al Bielig's booth. I think it's over in booth number 125. I could take other questions there and let you take a look at artifacts. And once again on these artifacts, in the very few minutes, don't handle them, just look at them. Thank you very much.
Hours to Washington. But up to 5 saucers, at a distance of about 5 miles from us. Out in the desert forest, a place where everybody else watches. I can tell you for a fact. Our first sighting occurred right about a little bit after 5 o'clock. And around 45 minutes after sunset.
I know that you just told me. Yes. Oh. Did we see something you won't believe?
I won't. I'll tell you, it's great.
I'm telling you.
We saw that first saucer, and then saw 2 other ones taken into the formation, and then watched for pretty close to 3 hours, getting in and out of the car, in the car to be warm, getting out of the car, and I had a radar detector in my hand, and the thing went nuts every time the saucers were fully off the desert floor.
I can't get this timer to work. You know, I've tried for an hour and a half to get this thing to work, but it just won't, so I just have to excuse me. We're at the little alien right now. And I want you to get this Let me pan it back here a little bit so you can see what it really looks like. It's absolutely just gorgeous from where I'm at. I just had to show you this because I wouldn't want you to miss it. Totally tremendous. We talked to the two owners, and they were very nice, pleasant people. Very nice. Told them about Don Newman, tape, got your card. Told them about the videotape and everything. Well, we knew what was going on. Wanted to know if we could see you pretty good. We told them we could. Gave it to what's his name, you know, to calibrate for us. Then we'll turn around here for a second. Pan back, of course. This is the little alien from the other side. Show you where we're staying at. We're staying right here at this place. Not a bad place either. We went $27.50 a night for two. It's pretty good. There's no thieves out here or nothing, so there's no keys to the lock. And they never used them, so there it is again from my left eye here until it's going down. There's the Groom Lake facility way up there. I don't know, I can't see too good in black and white in this viewfinder, but if you might be able to make out that snow up there. Yeah, now you can see it. Snow everywhere. We're going to go down the road here as much as possible. Wait for a little while for the UFOs. There's another little friend of ours. Okay. Pan back again so you can get a chance to see everything. There's another friend of ours. Okay, I'm going to cut off about here. You saw it moving, didn't you?
Yeah, sure did. It did a dog leg to the left, then it did an about face straight up, and then it did a dog leg to the left. I mean to the right.
I get really close on this bastard. He gets real strange on me. It's totally round, Phil.
Well, I'm going to take a bead on him right now.
Yeah, get the binocs out, quick.
Yeah, I got it. Sitting right on the car.
This is it, dudes. This is what we came to see. I got both my eyes open. I saw the dude move. Is he?
Yeah.
Okay, Phil's got the binoculars on him. He says it's a disc. Now I'm going to get an extreme close-up on him. That's it, an extreme close-up.
Take a look.
No, I'm filming. You look. I don't want to break...
Right at us.
What?
Yeah, he's right at us. He's probably 8 or 9 miles distant.
No. Now, when I get back a little bit, you can see this is the Groom Dry Lake area on the other side of those mountains. Phil, look around the road, see if there's anyone watching us.
Right over here going real slow. You better believe it. He's doing about 10 or 15 miles an hour. There he is. Let me get my radar out. Yeah, there he is. At the top. Somebody, there he is. He speeds up. Now, yeah, I got you. Now he speeds up. Real rippy. It's a Ford twin cab.
Now, this guy's not moving, but we saw him move.
Yeah. There's a Ford twin cab, and he's going up by the Atomic Energy Road.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Phil, got it running. I can't see anything. I'm hoping that this thing will come in on the film anyway right now. I got the advanced gain button up.
This thing's going nuts.
I know it. If you guys can hear this tape, we have been watching two flying saucers for what, about the last half hour?
Yeah, last half hour.
At least the last half hour.
It's about 10 to 20 degrees below zero out here.
Hey, it looks like I'm getting a heat mirage on this thing. I can't pick them up, and I'm getting heat mirages. From this far back. So I'm lucky I turned this thing on. I don't know if it'll come out on the film or not. But I can see the heat mirage right here.
Oh, wow.
I got both my eyes open so I can see down there and right in here. But believe me, I can't see anything out of this camera.
Yeah, the radar detector went nuts there for a while.
I moved the camera back and forth. See me?
Yeah.
The heat mirage will stay right in the middle, no matter what I do.
It goes.
Are they going?
Yeah, they're off the floor.
Okay.
He's moving right. He dipped. He's moving right again. He dipped.
Okay, I'm going to point this up the moon real quick. See if I can't see the moon at least. No, I won't even pick at the moon.
Really?
Oh, I got it now, all right. I don't think... Yeah, I got the moon. That's bright enough. I still need extra light, though. Okay, now listen.
Wow, it just did this.
Okay, now listen, you guys. We're at the same place that you saw in the movie where all the trucks are stopped and the Billy Goodman show's at. We're in the exact same spot. Okay? And where you guys saw the saucer go up towards the left and then up again, well, this is over about 20 miles from there, towards the left.
On this side of Area 51.
On this side of Area 51. That's right. We can see these things plain as day.
They were coming in behind us sometimes. We have lights on top of lights. Got 3 of them. And coming on the other side of us. I saw one personally go right into the Groom Dry Lake over the mountain like lightning bolt. Straight. He saw one too. I didn't see the one he saw. Saw 3 saucers at once, setting off his radar alarm like you wouldn't believe. It all would move in unison. 2 here, 1 above it, this way, that way, this way. And sometimes this one would go further and they go this way. And they were going like this. It's unbelievable. Just doing it like you wouldn't believe. So anyway, what? About 10 o'clock, we had enough of it. Being 10 miles away, we snuck up on it. Lights out. Probably got in with about 6 miles in, maybe more. Then that security thing came up after us. So, good night. A one hell of a Christmas, though, I tell you. After seeing this stuff tonight, I got no doubts whatsoever. These guys got ARVs out here, and they're testing saucers. Well, I saw it tonight with saucers. There's no airplane crap about it. Airplanes can't go zip, zip, you know, up and down. This is where we were last night. This is the same patch of road where Billy Goodman and all the other people come here. Give you an example of where we are looking this way. This is going west towards Tonopah. I'll show you the road behind us here. This is at full zoom magnification. The road's back there. I don't think you can see it from here. Anyway, there's the car we were at. This is how we were parked. There's the other road we took a ride on last night to go see the saucers that were downed. They were landed flying saucers, there's no doubt about it. Okay, now where am I? We roughly were seeing them right over here. That's where we were watching them do their thing last night, between here and here, flying all over the mountain for about 3-4 hours. We sat here, got in and out of the car, watched them, the whole thing. Yeah. Okay. So this is it. This is it. Somewhere on the other side of those hills right there, I'll get you a close-up of this, is probably S4. And that's where they were testing, right in there. Give you a good idea of where it's at. And then I'm telling you, they tested something fierce. Okay, I'm shutting it off now. This is down last night with the lights off, about 10:15, 10:30. Catch those 2 grounded saucers. Give you an idea here. a little bumpy. I'm going to shut this thing off. But to get a general idea, we had to have our lights off all the way down. Okay, I'm gonna get a close-up. Get closer to it. And there's those guys probably looking at us right now, checking us out. I'm gonna scan around here to show you just how desolate this place is. It is pretty desolate. Nothing. I mean, there's just nothing here.
We scout out these other peaks.
There's the road we came in on. You can tell it's way the heck over there. Then again, back to the road again.
Well, I've heard people can get killed if they see too much up in the mountains. So, you know, prudence is the word.
That's right.
I've used prudence. So, you know, and anyway, I was getting calls 20 below zero out there for that sake. All I have to say, it's just an amazing Christmas present. That's all I'm going to say. Merry Christmas to you all, folks.
Of course, eventually all that broke down, and aliens are notorious for being liars, even greater liars than so-called, in quote, we humans are. Alien treaties are often just not even the pieces of paper they're written on. They're just really kind of worthless. Anyway, my work as a geologist in building underground military bases, some of which are over 2 miles underground. And I think when you listen to Al tonight, if you have a chance to listen to him, he will speak of, Al's actually been on some of the high-speed monorail subway cars, if you might want to call them, that link these bases together. Some of them are capable of riding on a cushion of air about 3/4 of an inch off a rail at a better part of Mach 2. And he's actually been on one of these trains. I've only been in one of the tunnels and helped build some of the tunnels. Incidentally, I helped work on 13 deep underground military bases. Had hands-on experience. Notorious was the one in and around the Dulce, the southeastern and southwestern sides of Dulce, New Mexico, in the Los Alamos laboratory regions, where we built some hermetically sealed rooms that were very deep, going down over a mile. We also built additions onto Groom Lake and S2 and S4 complexes. There are a total of 9 underground. They're called DUMBs. Like, you can learn a lot from this dummy, but DUMB stands for Deep Underground Military Base. and or a deep underground, Dum 2, for instance, is a submarine base, and I have built a few of those too, which are off our continental shelves and then certain islands and out in the Atlantic and the Pacific in strategic locations. All this, I can hardly, in an hour's time, I can hardly squeeze all this in, so I'll be kind of rambling here if you just bear with me. The main topic of my discussion here is to link up basically what's going on with these deep underground military bases, what they're being used for, what is the present situation now being employed both by our federal government, which is slowly being phased out by the United Nations government, as well as the New World, end quote, the New World Order, which is an even higher entity, and who these higher entities are taking their orders from, and try and link up basically what's going on. A lot of us have been kept in the dark. We've been given, maybe most recently over here, photographs of an alien at Roswell. I'll just make a very brief.
Author Ron Rummel was about to publish a book revealing what he believed to be the real purpose of the Star Wars project when his body was found here in Maclay Park in Portland, Oregon. His death was ruled suicide, but few agree with that verdict.
As far as the police and the FBI are concerned, it's case closed. Unfortunately, there's the shocking thing that his murderer, I believe his murderer, is still out there at large.
Why is it you're speaking out?
There have been enough lives taken under the premise of suicide when they were actually very stable individuals. They had families and they had lives to look forward to, and they had every reason to live. And if there is some form of conspiracy out there, then the more people that are talking might end up saving lives in the long run.
The great 1954 treaty had been violated. After the great firefight, the alien-human war, I am the only living survivor talking about it worldwide at all. Only one. The other two are in nursing homes in Canada, and the Canadian government refuses to allow any U.S. people, including myself, to talk to them because they are afraid of kidnap. Probably the reason I got shot to pieces and 11 attempts on my life is I am a
I met Phil over the telephone approximately 3 years ago, and in person about 2 years ago. And during that period of time, I became very well acquainted with him. He was, at that time, still working for the government, and he didn't say much about what he did. But nonetheless, over a period of time, I became well acquainted with him. I found him to be a person of integrity and honesty. And about 1 year ago, he became totally fed up with the New World Order and the establishment. He thought he was working for the betterment of mankind and the work that he was doing as a geologist for our government as well as for NATO. And he found out that it could be and was actually anything but that. So his revelations became, in many respects, my
statement about that. The photographs cannot stand up to a computer grain analysis test and therefore are retouched or faked. They're not real. The real one, the real photograph of the charred or dead alien that was, or one of the several that were autopsied, is over here, was given to me by a friend by the name of Skip Frombach of Seattle. And his father worked as one of the principal doctors. He was from Germany at the time, and worked on some of the autopsy material, from what I understand, along with other people. Anyway, you just can't believe everything, and that goes for me. You got to get out there and do your homework. Like I always say, you might don't put your spectacles on, you put your skepticals on when you listen to me. So if we can have a show of hands here, how many people have heard about Roswell, New Mexico? Very good, almost all. And how many people have heard about the black helicopters and the other kinds of flying saucers type equipments out at Groom Lake and other places? Very good. Well, this obviously is a nice enlightened audience. Most of you have probably seen what a black helicopter is, or maybe even gotten rare glimpses of an F-117A black jet, or stealth, as they're often called, or a B-2 bomber, B-1 bomber, or some of these other sophisticated aircraft that are now being touted as the new technology. Once again, where did we get this new technology? Well, obviously we've had a little hand in that. Our little alien so-called buddies, have kind of exchanged things, not without a great cost. The cost of which has been a lot of people have disappeared. Some, and I'll blow this statistic by you, there's, according to current FBI and Defense Intelligence Agency and CIA statistics, 100,000 children and 1 million adults disappear every year, and these are not kidnappings or murders or rapes or suicides or anything, totally unaccounted for. And where are these people going to? Nobody knows. Maybe one of us in this room or somebody has encountered such an individual and lost a loved one or a friend or something, and that's unfortunate. My best friend, Ron Lee Rummel, several years ago, got himself murdered because we dared to put out in print, at that time I was still working for the government, and so was he, we dared to put in print and wondered at what's been flying there. There's all kinds of things been flying. Let me give you a brief overview. Start in ancient history land here. Back in 1909, the U.S. cavalry was engaged in catching some banditos that had crossed over the Mexican border into a place called Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. And they went into a cave or a hideout and killed the so-called bandits, but what they found out they couldn't explain, and they were called horseshoe craft at that time, or horseshoe ships. There were UFOs, and they saw these, what they called demons, gray demons, little gray guys all around the place. That was in 1909. Now in 1933, our government was actively engaged with the Europeans, mostly the French and the English, in special researches dealing with aerial phenomenon. And once again, the term flying saucer or flying disc didn't come about until much later, supposedly right around the mid-1940s. Anyway, the whole thing here is that also in 1946, I might want to add, we were engaged in atomic bomb testing and this kind of a like, and of course the area of Bikini Atoll. Some of the pictures are over here on the white board. showing with the actual language of both the U.S. Army and U.S. Navy archives. These flying ships were seen as early as 1945-46. Some of them were called Foo Fighters, and you name it. They were fully known about maybe as early as 1935 or 36 by our U.S. Navy. And there was a shallow underwater base at Bikini Island, and that was probably the one reason why a number of atomic bombs were exploded in that area rather than other areas which they could have been even more remote out in the South Pacific at Operation Crossroads. Well, anyway, this all led up to later on, about 6-8 years later, 1954, during the Eisenhower administration, led to an interesting treaty called the Greada 1954 Treaty. It was the Alien-Human Treaty. And supposedly the aliens had come in and exchanged technology, and they'd want to take an occasional human being and a few head of cows, and accurate books were supposedly to be kept, and all this kind of stuff. And
revelations. And I urged him last winter and spring to go public and lecture. Finally got him out. He's given over 30 lectures to date, all very successful, very interesting. In fact, so successful there have been 13 attempts on his life since the beginning of the year, and he's survived them all. All I can say is God must be protecting him because he has a message. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Phil Schneider, and understand also everything is being recorded and the video and audio tapes will be available later. Please give a warm welcome to Phil Schneider.
Thanks, Al. I guess I can always start off by saying loose lips sink ships. That's almost a pun anymore. I'm Phil Schneider. I worked 17 years for the United States government as a geologist and aerospace engineer, as well as a structural engineer. I worked for such elusive occupations with Boris and Knudsen, Bechtel, Page and Page, Aerospatiale of France, and a host of other EG&G and a host of other, Los Alamos Laboratory and these kind of things. But rather than bore you with all those statistics, I've got cooked up a real mixed bag here of different topics, and it's might be a little bit like brain overload, but I'll start from the beginning. Now, like I said, I worked 17 years. Co-invented methods of shape charge blasting, as well as laser rock deflagration, which means rock is literally melted or powdered by a special laser combination, and the residue of the rock underneath is applied as a coating, as a liquid coating, kind of like instant agate, if you could imagine a hunk of agate, which is a hard silica mineral, rock actually. But up here we have another topic. This is an area to where I worked. I worked 11 years of the 17 years at Groom Lake, S4, S2. It's in the Nellis Air Force Base area. In fact, Groom Lake is, I'll show you in the picture right here. It's right here. Groom Lake is quite the place. A lot of rumors and other kinds of things have come out of there. Of course, people have stood on the outside for years